Okay, last section, section 3, harmony, which just is about triad chords. So triad chords are where you play or hear 3 notes together at the same time, right? Triad, tricycle, triangle, 3. The notes sound good together because they create harmony. So here's a scale, a C major scale, just going from C to C. If you combine the first note of that scale and the third note of that scale and the 5th note and play them together, they create a harmony that we call the major chord. A major chord. The sound of a major chord is usually described as sounding happy. So that's the difference between major and minor. Major chords sound happy, minor chords sound sad. Okay, so tones and semitones. A semitone is just the smallest distance you can move from one key on a piano keyboard to the next, up or down. A tone is the distance of 2 semitones. So if you look at the picture of the keyboard there, okay, if you start at C and you move up the smallest distance that you can to the black note just to the right of C, you land on C sharp, right? C with like a little hashtag, we call that C sharp. If you move up one more semitone from C sharp, you land on D. Okay, so there's going up from C to C sharp, that's 1 semitone. There's 2 semitones, C sharp to D. So the distance between C and C sharp is 1 semitone, the distance between C and D is 1 tone. A tone is 2 semitones. Sharps and flats. Okay, so generally when you move from one note up to the next note 1 semitone higher, we would call that note sharp. That looks like the hashtag sign. If you move down to the next note 1 semitone lower, we call that note flat, which looks like a small b, like a lowercase b. So 1 semitone higher than D, we call that D sharp. And 1 semitone lower than E, we call that note E flat. But they're actually the same note, okay? So D sharp and E flat are the same note. You just call them a different thing depending on whether you're moving up from D, so up from D to D, 1 semitone is D sharp, down from E, 1 semitone is E flat. So all major chords are made in the same way. So the interval, that's what we call the distance between the notes, like is it a tone, is it a semitone, it's always the same, okay? So the first note is the root note, right? And then if you move up 4 semitones, you get to the 3rd, which is the middle note of the chord. And then from that note, if you move up 3 semitones, you get to the 5th, which is the top note of the chord. So it's very easy to see on a piano keyboard. Okay, you got C, you move up 1 semitone there, right? 2 semitones, 3 semitones, 4 semitones. So then that's the middle note, so E, because it's 4 semitones above C. And then to get the top note, we need to move 3 semitones up from E. So it's 1, 2, 3, and you land on G. So G is the top note of a chord, a C major chord, starts on C. Minor chords, like I said before, they sound sad, so they're exactly the same as major chords, except the middle note, the 3rd, is 1 semitone lower than what it would be in a major chord. So C minor is the same as C major, so C major, C, E, G, except the middle note, which is E, is 1 semitone lower. So if you go down 1 semitone from E, you get to E flat, right? So the 3 notes in a C minor chord are C, E flat, G. So the pattern, like the pattern we used for the major, it's the opposite, okay? So you have your first note and then you go up 3 semitones first and then you go up 4 semitones from the middle note. So it's like the opposite of going first note up 4 and then up 3. You go first note up 3 and then up 4. But the easy way to work out the notes in the minor chord is just to work out what the notes in the major chord are first, and then just lower the middle note by one semitone. So you use the flat sign, the small B. Right, so everything we've done on keyboard especially, and in technology with the composition, we've been working in the key of C. So the easiest way to work out the notes in any key is just to go, the name of the chord tells you the first note, the root note, right? Then you just skip the next note in the alphabet, and the note after that is the middle note of the chord. And then you just skip the next note, and the note that you get to, that's the top note of the chord. So if it's a minor chord, you've got to lower the middle note by one semitone, and just remember the music alphabet only goes up to G, and then you go back to A again. There's no H, I, etc. Okay, so quick recap. So notes of a major triad, take the name of the chord to give you the first note. So let's say F major, the first note is F. Then we have to remember that pattern. So major chord, we go first note, F, and then we go up 4 semitones, right? So if you go 4 semitones above A, you get to the note, above F, you get to the note A, okay? So that's the middle note. Then you go 3 semitones above A, and you get to the note C. So the 3 notes in an F major chord are F, A, C. But if you need to work out the notes in an F minor chord, we just need to lower the middle note by 1 semitone. So the middle note is A, right? So 1 semitone lower than A is A flat, A with a little small b, flat sign. So the 3 notes in F minor chord are F, A flat, and C. If you get stuck, if you find tones and semitones a little bit hard to understand, or you just can't remember, right, when you're in the assessment exam, the easy way, just the name of the chord's the first note. So let's say it's G major, so the first note's G. Now just skip the next note, which would be A, and you get to B. So B is the middle note of the chord. And then do the same as before and skip the next note, which would be C, and you get to D. So D is the top note. So that works like that. You can see it written on the music alphabet. Just skipping, just jumping notes like that. Easy, but that is, you know, that'll be harder for you to work out the correct notes for different major and minor chords in that way. But you know, if you can't remember, go with that, and you'll get some marks, and it's, you know, it's easier to remember. So test yourself on this last section.